Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here, spending some of your weekend with me. If it feels good, you can turn on your camera. It's always nice to see other faces. Hi, James. Nice to see you. Hi, Lauren. Thanks for showing up. I'm really excited you all found your way here. And this is a place where I hope you feel like you belong no matter where you are on your relationship journey. I'm Arya, and I'm excited to give you a little overview of my upcoming group coaching program called Nourishing, Non-Monogamy. And today's event is a little preview of the 15-week journey that we're going to go on starting next Sunday at this time. So I wanted to create this free event as an opportunity for people to get to know me a little bit better and how I am approaching the curriculum and our time together, and invite you into a somatic practice with me. So in today's event, I'm going to show you that it truly is possible to go from feeling overwhelmed and reactive about non-monogamy to feeling more confident in your ability to proactively create healthy, consensual relationships that are flexible enough to evolve with you and your partners, from monogamish to polyamorous to relationship anarchy as the seasons change. So by the end of our time together, you're going to see that it is possible to feel more confident in your capacity to craft relationships of all types, centered in your preferences, your visions, your values, needs, and desires, clear in your communication skills, and really ready for all kinds of conversations with new knowledge, tools, and frameworks to more easily navigate anything that comes your way. So here are a couple things that people said from the last group that I ran earlier this year. Alicia, who was in her first 2 years of dipping a toe into a monogamish partnership, said that the tools and insights I gained from this program are so versatile, they can really enhance any type of relationship, not just non-monogamous ones. Michelle had been polycurious for 3 years, said that after this group experience, I know myself more deeply. I feel more connected to my partner. I feel more certain of my non-monogamous capacity and desires. So I'm not exactly sure why you're here, but my guess is that you're either curious and just beginning to explore alternatives to monogamy to better meet your needs. Maybe you're newly open and looking to build resources to combat maybe some of the feelings of loneliness, insecurity, or overwhelm. Or maybe you're struggling with specific pain points as you try to embrace non-monogamy. So I'm curious if one of these resonates, and maybe you can let me know by typing in the chat. I'd love to hear where you're at. And yeah, whatever your motivation, I just want you to know I'm so glad you're here. This is a non-judgmental, brave space. So whether you're brand new to open relationships or you have a complex polyamorous relationship ecosystem or something in between, all of your curiosity and questions are very welcome here. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to take a minute to introduce yourself in the chat. Maybe just let me know where you're joining from and maybe one relationship goal of yours. And I'll kick that off as I give you a minute to type. And let me just pause my screen share actually, so you can see my face. So I'm Aria. I use she, her pronouns. I'm based in the East Bay of San Francisco, also known as unceded Ohlone land. I use she, her pronouns. Some of my identities are polyamorous, demisexual, bisexual, queer, cisgender, femme. And as a somatic relationship coach, I really help people practicing non-monogamy deepen their self-awareness and overcome insecurities and enhance communication skills to create more liberated relationships that feel expansive and nourishing. And one relationship goal that I'm working on after almost 11 years of being non-monogamous and 6 years of practicing kitchen table poly is really paying more attention to my existing people-pleasing patterns that I'm still aware of that becomes my default reaction to conflict. I was definitely grew up in a family where I let people with bigger, more like louder emotions take more center space. And that's something that I'm aware of and have been practicing for a really long time. And some of these things take a long time. And it's like with each new season, with different partners and metamors coming in and out of the relationship ecosystem, I see it as opportunities to keep learning and growing and healing and evolving. And I just trust that the more that I can stay humble with a growth-oriented mindset and keep investing in my own healing and regulation, the easier things become. All that to say, it is deeply meaningful for me to create brave spaces like this, to have these taboo conversations where we can be honest about our struggles and support one another in opening up and growing together. So, thank you for being here. I really love supporting people who are on similar paths and hope that by polishing some of my really hard lessons and learnings, I can help others avoid some of the same really challenging mistakes and pitfalls I've gone through by helping you develop your self-confidence and self-expression and self-awareness skills. So that's a little bit about me. I'm going to keep sharing my screen and we'll keep going. Um, yeah, I think we covered most of this, but I think, yeah, the last thing I'll say is my professional training is in somatics, trauma therapy, mindfulness, communication. And I'm really glad you're here. So let me tell you a little bit more about where we're going in this next hour. I'm offering a special bonus as a thank you for showing up here live, which I'll tell you about more in just a moment. We're going to do a little meditation practice, and then we'll go into the overview of the upcoming group program, the pillars, framework, and some of the benefits. So if you have questions as we go, feel free to drop them in the chat as they arise, and we'll have a time at the very end to go over anything that I haven't already covered. So as a special thank you for being here live with me on your Sunday, I'm offering $100 off of any of my one-on-one or group coaching services to the most engaged person in the room for this next hour. I'll announce the winner at the end of our time together. I just really love to offer more support for whoever is fully showing up, present, and clearly ready to transform and grow. So engagement can look like commenting and reflecting in the chat, and maybe if you're brave, coming off mute at the end and asking any remaining questions live. And I'm just going to check the chat. I see a couple private messages. So it looks like someone says, I have 10 plus years in poly relationships, just opening with my current partner. This relationship feels more serious, feels like there's more weight to having a successful relationship, possibility of marriage and sharing a home. Yeah, cool. Thanks for sharing that. I'd love to hear from anyone else where you're at on your journey. So somatic relationship coaching, which is my approach, really helps you build your confidence and capacity to craft nourishing, consensual, non-monogamous relationships. I see it as a way to create a powerful pathway to release unhelpful patterns that keep you feeling anxious or insecure, and really allowing you to step into the more fulfilling, secure relationships that you truly desire. So we do that by addressing the ways that your body holds on to old habits and help you break free from limiting reactions and align you more with the person that you want to become in your relationships. So I want to invite you into a little somatic self-compassion practice. One of the most common things that I hear my clients struggling with when they begin exploring non-monogamy is jealousy and insecurity. And from personal experience, I know that that is definitely the thing that can be the hardest. So it's important that we have meditations and other self-care practices that we can turn to when these big emotions kick us off balance. So before we do that, I just want to encourage you to silence your phones, turn off notifications, close the extra tabs on your computer, shut the door, whatever you need to create some quiet space for you to be with you. I really see meditation as an essential fuse lengthening practice, to use the words of Qigong master Pedram Shojai. And meditation can help people practicing non-monogamy really build that inner capacity to better manage the complexities of open relating. And I saw someone driving, so whoever's driving, I'm going to invite you not to close your eyes, but to come back to this meditation later. I will send out this recording to everyone later today. So let's take a moment to get centered. I want to invite you to anchor into your intention, whatever it was that brought you here today. We'll be here for just about 7 minutes. I'm going to pause my screen share again, so you can just begin to soften your gaze or close your eyes if it feels good. And I'm going to lead you through a little somatic self-compassion exercise for non-monogamy induced jealousy. So the practice of developing our somatic awareness is really a process of learning to pay attention to what's going on in our embodied experience and attend to it. So I want to give you all permission to adapt this to meet your needs, knowing that if you're here and trying to practice non-monogamy, you've likely had some waves of jealousy and insecurity. I'm hoping they haven't been too intense, but my guess is you know what I'm talking about. And I want to invite you to bring to mind a time when you felt some of these uncomfortable feelings, not the most intense time, but just gently remembering what it feels like to feel that envy or that unworthiness that comes up when maybe a partner expresses a desire to see other people. So I created this exercise to normalize that this is a passing feeling and invite you to begin to cultivate a gentler, more self compassionate response to jealousy in the context of non monogamous relationships. So, to begin, let's just settle a little bit more into our bodies, closing the eyes if it feels good, or softening the gaze, and just beginning to check in to see how you're feeling. Maybe notice your feet on the floor, feel your body in the chair. And let's just begin to take a couple long, slow inhales through the nose, filling all the way up, and take a nice big open mouth exhale. Take another 2 big breaths that way, just releasing any tension or stress, creating a little space for us to drop in. Nice big audible exhale. One more deepest breath in the morning. And a nice big sigh. So, as we begin, I want to invite you to call to mind a resource anchor. And what I mean by that is bringing to mind a favorite place in nature. Maybe imagining the smells of that place. Maybe there are pine trees or salty ocean water, maybe some fresh spring flowers. But just bring to mind this favorite place in nature and let it fully come to life in your body. Maybe listen for any sounds here. Is there bird calls, sounds of waves crashing, maybe some wind blowing through the trees or the grass? Let's just take a couple breaths here, noticing maybe how your body softens as you feel into being safe and held by the natural world. And as you're sitting in this place, just notice what texture is beneath you. Is it grass, stone, sand? Just invite your body to settle into whatever is beneath you, feeling held by Mother Earth. And you can even ask to feel held a little bit more by something larger than you. Just remembering that you are nature. You're never alone. And feel how the environment is embracing you and welcoming all of you in this moment. I want to invite you just to begin to notice that feeling of jealousy and notice if you can find where it lives in your body. Maybe it's in your heart space or your stomach or your chest. And just begin to bring some of your awareness to your inner experience while keeping some of your awareness in this resource place. And as you tap into that feeling of jealousy arising, just take a moment to pause, remembering that this is a natural emotion, that it's okay to feel this way. And as you keep one part of you in this natural, safe resource place, allow another part of you just to dip a toe a little bit further into the jealousy, taking several deep, calming breaths here, breathing in for a count of 4, and doubling the length of the exhale for a count of 8. I invite you to keep breathing in this way, doubling the exhales, really just releasing any tension or feelings of anxiety that might be arising. And as you continue to breathe deeply, connected to this power place in nature, shift your focus inward just a little bit more. Are there feelings of tightness, maybe a knot, clenching? Just see if you can give any words to your inner experience, just bringing a little more somatic awareness to what happens inside of you. And if at any point it starts to feel overwhelming, feeling these feelings, just shift your awareness fully back to that calming resource place. You're in charge of how fast you move. I want to just invite you to keep taking care of yourself and checking in with how you're doing. If you're ready, you can stay with that inner experience and just observe a little bit more clearly whatever sensations are present without judging them, without needing to change them. And just begin to become aware if there's any stories, thoughts, or emotions that accompany these sensations. Is there a narrative around the fear that comes up for you? Just simply note it as it arises, recognizing it as temporary and not necessarily reflective of reality. Take another big deep breath in and a big deep breath out. I want to invite you to take a moment to consider what underlying needs or desires are being highlighted by your jealousy. Are you seeking more reassurance, connection, validation? Reflect on how you might address these needs both within yourself and through open communication with any partners or lovers or sweeties. Remembering that understanding our needs is a crucial step toward nurturing ourselves and our relationships. As we begin to close, I want to just invite you to practice some self-compassionate affirmations. If it feels good, you can put a hand on your heart, maybe rub some little circles there, stimulating the vagus nerve, which helps us feel safe and calm. And silently or aloud, you can repeat a compassionate affirmation to yourself. Maybe it's okay to feel jealous. I'm human. These emotions are passing and natural part of my experience. I'm learning and growing. Whatever words feel true to you, just take a minute to give yourself a little affirmation, validation, self-compassion. Feeling the warmth of your hand on your chest. Let's take one more big, long, slow breath in. Filling all the way up in a nice big open mouth sigh. Want to gently remind you that jealousy doesn't have to define you. It's a passing emotion, doesn't diminish your worth or your capacity for love. And the more that we can consider how this feeling, like all feelings, will ebb and flow with time, we can develop more self-awareness and growth. I want to invite you to return fully to that place in nature. Again, feeling maybe the wind or the sunlight on your face, noticing the sounds around you, noticing how you're totally held and safe in this moment, feeling the texture of Mother Earth beneath you. And let's just close with one more long, slow breath in and a nice big breath out. It feels good. You can roll your shoulders. Maybe take a little stretch. And as we begin to close, just notice what shifted, maybe even 1 or 2 degrees from how you arrived here. I want to invite you to take some water, maybe just like look around the room. It can be helpful to remind ourselves that in this moment we're safe, there's no immediate threats. And if it feels good, you can drop in the chat. How are you feeling in your body now? And I'm going to share my screen. So, my challenge to you as you explore any type of non-monogamy is to strengthen your relationship with yourself first and foremost. So, if you choose to accept the challenge, I always like to invite people to make this kind of somatic practice part of your daily experience. You can take 5 or 10 minutes just to find a designated peaceful sit spot. I like to kind of create a space in my house where I'm like, okay, this is the place where when I look at this place, it's a reminder for me to slow down and check in with myself. You can add a candle, a piece of art, something from nature, maybe that reminds you of this safe place that you brought to mind. And just make it a practice of sitting down, slowing down, deepening your self-awareness, being with your feelings, identifying your needs, noticing your patterns, lengthening your fuse and really trying to reduce some of the automatic emotional reactivity that can get stirred up when we find ourselves in places with non-monogamy that feel foreign and disorienting. And I just want to say, if your life is super full with work and responsibilities, and you're not prioritizing a daily intentional relationship with yourself, it is going to be harder to have the capacity to handle the inevitable shenanigans that inevitably arise as you're learning an entirely new paradigm of loving and relating. So I'm going to read a few more of these things that I'm hearing in the private chats. So somebody's here from San Francisco, use she, her, they pronouns, queer, bisexual, pansexual, in an ENM relationship, have been for over 2 years, started off monogamous, and this is my first experience. Currently struggling with what my boundaries are, how to communicate those, navigating jealousy and insecurity. I don't want to be monogamous, but also not enjoy non-monogamy. Yeah, I've been there. I feel like there's this liminal phase in between where it's like, okay, don't want to go back and also having trouble moving forward. So I totally get that. Someone else says, I'm new to non-monogamy. My partner and I just recently separated, a half-year break because she realized that non-monogamy is not for her, while I still feel the need to explore and understand how important it is for me in a long-term relationship. I'm here because I have no idea where to start, and I'm hoping to learn from others. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry to hear that your partner decided that non-monogamy wasn't for her. And yeah, I would love to support you in helping you figure out where to start and creating a space for you to learn from other people. I hear from someone else, I'm joining because I've been exploring polyamory a while as an RO ace person and a couple loving queer platonic relationships, and excited to take some more reflections with me about how to engage with polyamory from these identities. I'm also a pre-licensed therapist and intrigued to be able to offer clients a broader perspective about relationship orientations. Cool. I love that. Beautiful. Well, thank you to everyone for sharing that. Let's keep going. So this is one of my favorite quotes from the writer and facilitator and space holder, Adrienne Marie Brown. We become what we practice. So my question for you is, what are you practicing? Are you actively and intentionally practicing being in non-monogamous relationships? What I've learned is that the most successful non-monogamous relationships really begin with a commitment to personal and relational growth and a whole lot of unlearning. I want to just invite you to pause and breathe and reflect and comment in the chat. What do you need to practice in your relationships to help transform any habitual reactions that stem from a place of anxiety, insecurity, overwhelm, or fear? I look at meditation, mindfulness, and somatic practices as ways to really begin to listen more deeply to the messages that arise within us, and then use that embodied information to communicate with our partners, advocate for our needs, update our internal stories to become more empowering, and create new boundaries and agreements that help build safety. So here's another question for you. As you think about your own future, can you imagine what it would feel like if you were less insecure and more confident in your ability to craft intentional and consensual relationships of any style you choose with ease? That would be pretty amazing, right? Give me a yes, please, in the comments if you're on board with this vision. And I just want to clearly state that it is indeed possible to feel safe, supported, secure, and calm while you and or your partners have multiple loving, sexual, or emotionally intimate relationships simultaneously. I think for a long time practicing non-monogamy, I didn't fully believe this was possible. And I think it's so important to really firmly plant this idea in your brain if you're going to practice into open relationships, that it is possible to move through the deeply uncomfortable phase. And it's really important that we get clearer on our vision of the big dream that we are moving towards. I think it's so easy to fall into the trap of really focusing on the fear of what we don't want to happen with non-monogamy and really looking over our shoulders in fear. And I really challenge my coaching clients to hold the vision of what your ideal future looks like. And I'm here to help you develop what that is for you, because there are a lot of different ways to do non-monogamy that can be abundant and loving and healing and connective. and pleasurable. And that's what I want us all to anchor a little bit more deeply into, is knowing that each of our dreams will likely be wildly diverse and beautiful in their own way. And the jealousy and insecurity is only one part of this way of relating, but it does take a commitment to look at it and work with it and learn from it if we want things to be more easeful. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Non-monogamy is hard work. And to relate successfully in this way really requires a deep commitment to unlearning societal expectations, possibly ignoring familial assumptions about what relationships and family is supposed to look like, as well as healing our own inner wounds. So some of the core challenges that I see it of embracing non-monogamy are living in a mononormative society. And just to clarify, if you haven't heard that word, mononormative is the idea that monogamy is the default or right or only way of being in relationship. So being in a society that perpetuates this as the only choice can create a lot of judgment and shame if we want something different than that. Many of us struggle to even imagine, let alone craft, the intentional and healthy relationship structures that will meet our own authentic needs. And a lot of that has to do with lacking spaces, shame-free spaces to explore alternatives, having healthy role models show us that it is possible to have multiple loving, connected relationships simultaneously. And we also need tools and frameworks to be more skillful in this way of relating. Finally, practicing non-monogamy really invites us or requires us to stretch and grow and communicate. And we may struggle to stay regulated with those challenging conversations and disorienting foreign situations. So again, I just want to invite you to keep breathing. It can feel activating to talk about the challenging parts of this. So keep checking in on yourself, taking care of yourself. This recording will be sent out. So if you need to take a minute to stretch or get a glass of water, please do that. So my approach is to help you find nourishment more quickly with non-monogamy. We really focus on nervous system regulation to help you better honor your limits and expand your capacity to be with the disorientation as you learn new relationship paradigms. We do a lot of mindset work to empower you with confidence, help you make more authentic choices aligned with your desires, not what society tells us we should desire. And finally, communication, which is probably the most important thing to practice and get good at doing proactively, so that we can express our needs and fears and boundaries and desires in a way that they're more likely to be seen, validated, and met. So here are a couple more things that people said from the last group. David identified as monogamous for about a year. The course in the group was great. Aria gave us so many tools and exercises to help with our relationships with others, ourselves, and our bodies. I highly recommend this, whatever your relationship preferences or explorations. Craig had been polyamorous for about 6 years, but was transitioning from partnered polyamory to more solo poly and was looking for more community around that, said it was truly a dream. Aria created a beautiful blend of meaningful conversations and group dynamics that felt easy to participate in. Being able to discuss about our successes and struggles made me feel less alone in this monogamy-centered world. And I just want to say this is absolutely the reason why I created this group, as the thing that I wish I had had a decade ago when I started on this journey, so I didn't feel so alone. So creating this program really is medicine for me as well. So there are really 3 foundational key pillars of this framework that will strengthen together. So after 15 weeks, you'll leave the program feeling more confident in your capacity, centered in your vision and values, and clear in your communication. So I want to tell you a little bit more about my Nourishing framework. It's 15 lessons in 7 modules, and it's essentially all of my tools, skills, and frameworks that I've gathered over the last 10 years to help you feel confident, calm, and capable of doing non-monogamous relationships in a way that feels more satisfying and connective. I really want to help you experience more of the fulfilling, enlivening, joyful parts of open relationships and avoid some of the very challenging and painful lessons that I went through by developing a strong foundation that you can then use to explore all of the beautiful options, from monogamous to polyamorous and everything in between. So the N stands for nurturing creativity and curiosity. The first module is really about getting curious about all of the different ways to do non-monogamy. It's about helping you envision your ideal relationship ecosystem, building trust and safety in the group container to allow us to go deeper and to open and to share parts of ourselves that maybe we keep bottled up and maybe close friends and family members don't even have access to. Together, we start excavating some of those mononormative thinking and mindsets that can be really easy to overlook. We begin to explore how we can decolonize our relationships to release control and ownership over other people's time, energies, and bodies. We start our first breathwork journey, which is a modality that has been the most helpful way for me to clear shame from my own body. And I'm really excited to have 3 different breathwork healing experiences in this group container to help you release your own shame and guilt of maybe not meeting other people's likely mononormative, heteronormative expectations about what relationships are supposed to look like. So that's where we begin. In the second module, we move into opening emotional capacity. So we'll map the 3 states of your own nervous system and help you bring more awareness to your patterns of dysregulation. We'll work together to expand your nervous system capacity by building some ventral vagal anchors. We'll look at the peace protocol for self-soothing. I'll help you learn new somatic practices to come back into your window of tolerance, which is essentially the therapeutic term. That means kind of like your internal comfort zone. And we'll look at different ways of both co-regulation and self-regulation. In the third module, U is for understanding expectations through clear communication. So I'll help you recognize your default communication approach. I'll share my 3-part framework to help you find and evolve your boundaries, knowing that these are things that are always going to change, not static. We'll look at 5 different areas to consider making more explicit boundaries. We'll define what honesty means for you and your partners in your open relationships. We'll create disclosure agreements about what you feel comfortable hearing and sharing. And we'll look at a bunch of different communication frameworks to help build intimacy, avoid misunderstanding, and increase feelings of being seen and heard. R is for reworking patterns of codependency and jealousy. So we'll look at some ways to begin to shift out of any patterns of enmeshment or codependency. Mononormative culture really teaches us to become a single unit with our partners, right? It's this idea of like, you're my other half and you're the one. And, culture teaches us that if we don't have a partner, we're somehow deficient. And if we have a partner, we're supposed to become a single unit. So there's a lot of insidious things there that we're going to try to unwind. I'm going to give you some practices to increase individuation and healthy differentiation. If you find yourself in a dynamic like I was in my marriage that was very enmeshed and codependent, we'll work on some self-confidence building practices, cultivating a compersive relationship ecosystem. I'll share some advice on relating to metamors, and I'm really excited. As of yesterday, we're going to have Marie Tuan, who recently published the book, What is Compersion, as a special guest instructor. So she's going to share some of her tips from her own research, excuse me, and coaching about the jealousy compersion spectrum. And thank you, whoever wrote in the chat. Your compersion series is fantastic. Yeah, so I'm currently doing a book club series with one of my metamors where we read this book chapter by chapter and share some of our own very vulnerable stories about moving towards compersion and away from jealousy. So let's keep going. I is for intentional repair and cultivating resilience. So in this module, it's all about rebuilding trust after rupture, knowing that ruptures are inevitable, and the way we get through them is by having more skills to repair. We're going to look at some proactive ways to strengthen relationships, strategies to process more of the attachment insecurities, developing more co-regulation practices. And in this module, we're going to have a live full 2-hour workshop with my sweetie, Justin, who's a polytherapist, and his wife, Selena May, who's a mindfulness coach. And Selena is who I'm doing the Metamor book club with. So she has a long trauma history that she talks very openly about, and a disorganized attachment style. And they had many therapists tell them, like, there's no way that you guys are going to ever be able to be polyamorous. But they have worked through a lot of that insecurity and are going to share a lot about their own personal and professional journey of making it possible to be polyamorous. So I'm really excited to welcome them into this container. S is for self-reflection and rituals for secure connections. So we're going to look a little bit more deeply at your default patterns, habits, and responses, help you develop more inner confidence and self-worth. We're going to look at how to create pre-care and aftercare rituals when one of your partners or lovers is going on a date with someone else to help you feel more secure. We're going to look at self-care, relationship enrichment practices. We'll have our second breathwork journey to help deepen more self-love, and we'll have a lot of space in this module for Q&A as we move to close out the group experience. The final 7th module, H, is for healing and growing a healthy relationship ecosystem. So in our last module, we'll have our final breathwork and parts work experience to help bring more healing to the younger parts of you that are maybe insecure and still struggling with non-monogamy. We'll look at widening the scope of care beyond the couple and the nuclear family unit. This module is all about developing mindsets of mutualism and moving away from the rugged individualism that mainstream America promotes. And we'll end with some dreaming and goal setting about the future in our closing ceremony. So a couple more testimonials. Elle joined, she had been open for 7 years. She said, I used to struggle and push through tough non-monogamous conversations, often feeling dysregulated and ashamed of my big feels. Aria's coaching program has given me the tools and frameworks and community I need to truly care for myself during and around these conversations. Allison, who identified as polycurious for a couple years, said the communication tools I practiced in this group helped me to create the emotional intimacy that led to one of the best sexual experiences of my entire life. Wow, so grateful. Love that one. So here's another question for you. This is another invitation to reflect and comment in the chat. And if you didn't catch it, if you missed the beginning, I am giving away $100 to the most engaged person in the chat. I am getting a lot of private direct messages, but if anybody feels brave, I'd love to see you share to everyone. So the question is, what will you stop doing in your relationships when you have more skills, tools, and frameworks to practice non-monogamy in a nourishing way? Here are a couple of things that some clients have said. I stopped comparing myself to other people that my partner's dating and really learned to believe in my own unique worth. I stopped believing that I should feel shame about my desire for novelty with multiple sexual partners. I stopped playing it cool and instead learned to ask for the care and reassurance I need to feel safe and seen. I stopped trying to push through tough conversations when my nervous system was on fire. Probably all 4 really good things to stop doing and bring more awareness to. So some more questions for you. Can you see yourself thriving in a non-monogamous structure? And would you like me to virtually hold your hand as we build the foundation to make it possible to feel safe, secure, and supported while having multiple loving, sexual, or emotionally intimate relationships? I just want to remind you, you have options. You could do what my nesting partner / husband and I did, which was go it alone, get very lost in the wilderness of non-monogamy, unfortunately cause a lot of harm, and then pay literally thousands of dollars for 3 therapists to unwind the damage, rebuild the trust, and essentially the entire foundation of our partnership. And I'm really hoping that you haven't already found yourself in this place, but I know that unfortunately it's the starting point for many of us, and it can be so disorienting and so uncomfortable. So in an ideal world, you skip a lot of that pain and heartbreak and proactively join an open-hearted community of relationship explorers, entering brave new territory with a certified field guide who knows the terrain and will point out some of the biggest dangers and new possibilities that maybe you haven't even considered yet to help you grow and evolve into this new paradigm with more easefulness so that you can get to the juicy and joy-filled possibilities faster. So if you're ready to build essential skills, norms, and ethical guidelines that are needed to feel confident, calm, and capable of practicing non-monogamy in a nourishing way, I would love to invite you to come on this 15-week journey with me and a fellow open-hearted community of people who will help normalize alternative relationship structures and inspire you with new approaches. And we already have people from Canada, New York, Colorado, California, Utah, Arizona. It's a really cool group of people that are forming. And in this 15-week journey, you will go from feeling insecure about the complexities of non-monogamous relating to feeling confident in your ability to proactively create healthy, consensual relationships so that you and your partners have the skills to create your open relationship from monogamous to polyamorous as the seasons change. So let's get into some of the nitty-gritty of the program. Usually working with me one-on-one, 30 hours of my coaching at $180 an hour is $5,400, plus all the bonus content in this program, which is worth another $400. The total course value is $5,800, but I really want to empower you with all the skills and the tools that I so desperately needed at the beginning of my own journey. And I want this information to be accessible. So the course is listed at a standard price of $1,597. With lifetime access to the whole course, everything gets recorded. I hear a lot of people worried, like, I can't be there live for every Sunday. No problem. That's definitely not expected. I know people live busy lives. You'll get the recordings within 24 hours after we finish the live group. And the only thing you'll miss is the breakout rooms. And you will get paired with a buddy so that you have somebody that you can check in with and schedule that integration time. To make it even more accessible, I do offer sliding scale pricing and payment plans. This accessible pricing model is borrowed with gratitude from Reverend Angel Kyoto Williams to help make this transformative experience available to a wider audience. So you can break up the standard price into 5 payments of $329. If you're someone who is currently feeling under-resourced and would benefit from community support, the supported price is $11.97 or 5 payments of $249. And if you're someone who's feeling flush in resources and really want to contribute to rebalancing inequity and make it possible for other people to get more scholarships, the rebalancing price is $19.97 or 5 payments of $409. I also offer some optionalized personal support upgrades. These are discounted from my usual one-on-one rates. So if you want a little extra hand-holding as we move through this community experience, you can choose from 3 private sessions throughout the 15 weeks. If you want extra support, we can meet every other week for the 15 weeks of the program. So if you're ready to say yes, the next steps are to fill out the onboarding form. I'm going to drop that in the chat right now. 1 second. So the form is there. Excuse me, let me take a sip of water. Okay. So what's included? 30 hours of live group learning and practicing within those 7 training modules. We'll have videos, meditations, and reflection prompts. There's 3 live breathwork and partswork healing experiences. We have 2 optional in-person Bay Area integration events, community support, time and space to ask questions, not to mention virtual handholding every step of the way. You also get 15 weeks of premium access to my weekly Substack, which is called Navigating Non-Monogamy with Aria Diana, essentially weekly long-form newsletter of tips and advice. I know you might be thinking I have a specific tender question that I'd love to get advice on without asking it in front of the group. So in addition to the one-on-one support options, I'm also offering everyone a free bonus. If you enroll in the 15-week program before 5 p.m. tonight, you can submit your most vulnerable questions in the onboarding form, and I will write you a custom anonymous essay in the coming weeks, published on my blog at ariadiana.substack.com. I know you might also be thinking, what if I decide non-monogamy isn't actually right for me? I hear this from a lot of people who are on the fence if it makes sense to invest in learning more about non-monogamy. And I just want to say that while the work that we're going to do in this container centers non-monogamous relationships, the skills and tools that you learn and practice here are going to serve you in helping to relate to people in all capacities. The spring group definitely said that the program helped improve interactions with parents, children, coworkers, in addition to partners, lovers, and metamors. And the work we're going to do is about deepening self-awareness, self-expression, and self-regulation, which really make it possible to experience more intimacy and closeness in all of your relationships, whether you decide to return to monogamy or, it's helpful tools for all of our relationships. I'm also, in addition to the custom essay written for you, if you enroll in the program before 5 p.m. tonight, just a little over an hour for now, I'm also going to give you a free copy of this workbook that I'm designing for my workshop at the Convergence Retreat in Northern California this fall. which is essentially explores how the philosophy of non-monogamy can enhance any relationship structure. So we're exploring desires, boundaries, and choice. So I also just want to reiterate that a decade ago, when I started on my non-monogamous journey, I was a closeted, queer, anxious people pleaser who avoided emotional conversations and had zero boundaries. And I never would have predicted my capacity to find nourishment in non-monogamy. I've done a lot of self-growth and healing to become a more empowered polyamorous person who knows that my needs matter, and I can generally, but not always, stay calm while communicating about the tough things that used to send me spiraling. And all that to say, I'm not special. I don't have any superhuman powers. I just realized that I had desires that I had bottled up and locked away. And I finally gave them space to breathe and committed to looking at the parts of me that I had shame and fear around. So if I can do it, I know that you can too. And there are so many ways of doing non monogamy, and I'm never advocating for a certain style of relating, but I want to create a space where you feel permission to honor what you actually want and need, and create a space where you can begin to show up unapologetically in a way that feels more aligned with your real desires, whatever they may be. So you'll get both of the extra bonuses, the free journaling workbook and a custom essay written just for you when you sign up before 5 p.m. tonight. There are sliding scale payment plans, 5 payments of $249 to $409. Again, that chat is, the link is in the chat, so check that out. And everyone gets access to even more great content. So I'll share with you a very vulnerable 90-minute conversation that my polycule and I created for the Week of Visibility for Non-Monogamy earlier this summer, exploring polyamory, insecurity, jealousy, hierarchy, metamor relationships, and more. You'll hear from me and my nesting partner, Sky, his other partner, Bex, my sweetie, Justin, and his wife, Selena, and the husband of Sky's other partner, Olivia. You'll also get to learn more from my nesting partner, Sky, who taught an amazing workshop in the past exploring kink, safer sex, consent, and exploring our shadowy desires that we often keep locked away. And finally, you'll hear from my dear friend and Sky's other partner, Olivia, who's a licensed clinical counselor, in a workshop exploring trauma, attachment, our protective parts, and how to cultivate a more secure base. And I mentioned this before, but this is Justin and Selena. On November 24th, you'll meet these two married nesting partners who have a very rich personal and professional experience of working with Selena's disorganized attachment and building safety in her nervous system. And I'm excited to hear what they're going to share with us. So whether you're curious, newly open, or struggling, no matter the reason that you're here, I'd love to see you proactively invest in building stronger relationships of all structures. And I know you might be thinking, I don't have time to do this whole program live. Like I said, the recordings will be shared within 24 hours. You'll have access forever, and this program won't open until spring of 2025. So if you're feeling like this could be supportive for you in the season that you're in, there's really nothing to lose. I offer 14-day money back guarantee. So if after the first 2 classes you decide, you know what, this program isn't actually a good fit for me, I'll gladly give you a refund. So yeah, next steps, fill out that onboarding form in the chat to get all of the free bonus content. And I am also offering a special pay in full bonus. If you pay for the full program in one go and skip the payment plan, you will get a free 55-minute coaching session with me if you sign up before 5 p.m. tonight, which is a $180 value, just to give you a little bit more one-on-one support. Again, here's all the pricing options. Pay in full is $11.97 to $19.97, 5 payments of $249 to $409. And this could be you after this journey. You've deepened your self-awareness, have new supportive resources to help you build capacity in your nervous system to stay present with partners during conflict. You can more clearly create shared agreements that help everyone feel safe and supported. You feel more empowered in your ability to craft intentional and consensual non-monogamous relationships that feel meaningful and sustainable. Okay, so we've made it to the end. Let me just go through and see. Let's see. I'm going to say we're going to give this special discount to Lauren Goldman, who's here from New Jersey. So Lauren, if you want to email me at aria@ariadiana, we can schedule that. And let's open it up for Q&A now. You can either, let's see, raise your digital hand if you want to come off mute. If you have questions, you can type them in the chat. That was a lot of talking on my part. I'm going to pause and give you guys an opportunity. If there's anything that feels like we haven't talked about that you want to know about this program, definitely let me know. I also know that it can be intimidating to ask personal questions. So I'm going to also put a link in the chat where you can call me or book a time to chat one-on-one. So here's a link. You can book a free 30-minute call with me. The registration is open through this coming Friday at 5 p.m. So there's just a few days left, and there are only a few slots left for the one-on-one optional upgrades. I'm going to put all the links in the chat. You can see all the details of the program. There's the link to book a call. And again, there's the link to the onboarding form. So I think if no one has any questions, we can call that a wrap 5 minutes early. Let's see, here's the final slide. Lucy says this course delivered exactly what I was hoping it would, and then some. I got clear on what it is I'm seeking for my own relationship structure, my own needs for feeling safe in connection, confidence to assert those needs, and tools for conversation and navigating conflict. I feel so much more comfortable in my non-monogamous journey and more capable of navigating inevitable road bumps as they arise. So if you're feeling called to join this program, would love to hear from you. It is my deepest honor and joy to hold this space for other people who are moving away from monogamy and want to find a brave community to practice in. So if that's you, let me know. And I also offer one-on-one support for couples, triads, polycules. So if I can be a resource on your journey, I would love to support you. And I think we'll say goodbye. Thank you all for being here, and wishing you so much love and easefulness on your relationship journey. Bye, everybody.